Perfect. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Really appreciate everybody taking the time out. This is our seventh AI Roundtable. We've done a handful of these. The interesting thing over the last year, so we do one every 2 months. The content has changed, so we kind of share the questions ahead of time. Hopefully, you'll have had a chance to see them. I will go through them again. And just so you know, this is not a presentation. So the first minute or two is going to be a presentation, just setting some of the ground rules and taking it off. At that point, we'll go back to sort of our typical Teams environment where we can talk and brainstorm. We've got a lot of, looks like we've got some credit unions, some community banks, and even a couple of sort of, I'd say, what we classify as other, so either fintech or other organizations that support the financial services industry. The entire intent of today is to talk a little bit more about how we're navigating this maze. I mean, AI is an old word now; it's not even a new word. But how do we think about navigating? In fact, when we started the roundtables, the first question I used to ask is, "What is a project that you're thinking about or have started?" Now everybody started something, so we want to get into a little bit more around how these decisions are happening, how you're handling through the clutter that's out there, and how are you prioritizing things. So that's going to be a lot of our questions. So jumping right in, we're going to do a quick introduction. We go around the room. We've got just be conscious of time. We only have an hour, but we'll do quick introductions. Everybody just tell us where you're from, what you do, and maybe the role you play, or even if you want to touch on very briefly sort of what AI is in your organization. We may, the questions are all six, just so you're prepared for them. I obviously will ask some to some people. We want everybody to be engaging, and so we can get everybody's perspective on it. So the questions we're going to touch on: what is your highest priority? Is AI be driven top to bottom? So is it executives driving it down, or is it sort of coming from younger folks or new entrants into the organization from bottom up? Or is it sort of by specific job functions? We want to get a little bit into the consumer journey. There's a lot that's going on across the spectrum as AI can be used. So, a little bit of would you prioritize awareness and education? Would you think of servicing, product selection, marketplace positioning? Feel free to talk about anything really here, but we're talking about the onward, sort of the stage of the consumer journey. And then the pros and cons of implementing AI. More than the pros and cons, really, even like, are you underestimating? Is there any particular area that you might be underestimating or overestimating? So we want this to make a little bit of a discussion point, and then we'll try to end with what we call a bold question, which is, are you doing enough? And then what exactly does enough mean? And how do you sort of come at that enough question there? So those are some of the questions we're going to try to get to today. I will be moderating. My name is Karan Bala. I'm CEO of AI Vantage. It's nice to see some friendly faces as well as some new faces here today. In terms of rules, just general guidelines, we encourage everybody to speak freely, listen fully, make sure you're being conscious and considerate of other people's time, let them finish, try not to interrupt. If I do interrupt, it's really because I'm trying to keep us on time. So I apologize ahead of time, but time is valuable, and I may gently sort of try to wrap up some of your responses just to keep the flow moving. We encourage everybody to have their video cameras on. I mean, again, it's a roundtable. We're in a digital world, so if you have that really does. It changes the conversation when we have our videos on. So if you can keep your camera on, we like that. If you can't, for any reason, we completely understand. The other thing I'd just add is we are recording the session. We want to make sure we don't share the recording publicly, but we record it just so we can capture the feedback that's been discussed, so we can summarize it and then circulate that back to you. We also do share as a part of that when we send it out. We typically, sometimes these conversations get intimate and you like what somebody has said. So we, at the end of the day, we do send out, when we send the summary of the AI Roundtable to everybody, we also include in there the LinkedIn details, so the contact details of people. So I'll just kind of pick on somebody. So Matt, if say by chance you didn't want your information to be shared, just let us know ahead after the communication within 24 hours, and we won't pass it on. So with that, I'm just going to kick it off. Thank you again for joining. Looks like we've got a house full here. We normally try to keep it under 10 people, so I think we're right on it today. I'm just going to go around the room and ask folks to do a quick introduction of who you are, maybe where you're based. I know we're dealing with a lot of bad weather these days, so we can hear a little bit about that. But Rod, I'm going to pick on you first. You're next on my screen, if you don't mind. And you're on mute there.
Sure, but I don't have bad weather. I'm in Southern California, so.
Oh, man.
Long Beach. My credit union, we're still a sponsor group credit union. And the main sponsor group is Longshoreman union. So they are very prickly on automation. They feel, for them that's a loss of a job somehow or another. But at the same time, they're quick to use it if it's out there. So it's a mixed bag. And my position is a VP of technology. So far, we've been sort of a top-down driven on the AI. I tend to be very conservative. We've started with using it in Zoom for the conversations and call center. I'm looking at another product to basically make the website friendly and answer questions pertinent to the members, and also looking at some automation, some AI automation in the fraud area as well.
Perfect, thank you. Sarah? And we'll get into some of the questions, so this is just primarily just an introduction.
Okay.
We'll jump in after. Thank you, Rod.
I am the CFO of First Citizens Bank. We're in Iowa. And yeah, just interested in meeting everyone and hearing what you have to say.
Thank you very much. Brian Bodell?
Hi everyone, Brian Bodell. I'm CEO of Movement. We're a fintech. I'm based in New York City. So yes, I was shoveling at 9 o'clock last night, belatedly, after 18, 19 inches. And we work with credit unions and banks, with personalized offers in multiple channels. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hector?
Hey everyone, Hector Martin. I am with Pasadena Federal Credit Union here in Southern California as well. So I think 70 degrees. Sorry about that, Brian. And I'm the Chief Strategy Officer at Pasadena Federal Credit Union. So here to meet everybody and also hear how others are utilizing AI in their organizations. We're a little bit behind, I would say, in the implementation side of it, but I think the mindset is there. So that's very refreshing compared to some of the other organizations that you hear about or that I've worked at. And so we're already using some of the AI, which I can get into a little bit later, but pleasure to meet everybody.
And Hector, what we've done, like I said, over the last year is that we've found that folks are at different levels. There's some folks that are still, even today, there are folks that are still thinking about it in the very early stages. Everybody's thinking about it at least. Yeah. And then folks are obviously far more mature in their adoption. Matt?
Yep, Matt McCombs. I'm the CEO at Vibrant Credit Union, located right on the border of Iowa and Illinois in the Quad Cities. We are a little unique. We have just one branch, about 1.2 billion. So we do about everything nationwide and using, I'd say, AI in some areas of the business.
I live in Virginia for the most part, and this is actually to Sarah and you both. I never thought, and Tricia, you as well, I never thought I'd spend as much time in Iowa as I have. I used to partner with the Iowa League, and I've spent actually surprisingly at Bettendorf, Davenport, that whole area, Moline, Rock Island. It's like, I don't know, and it's ended up as a happenstance situation, but I'm a very big fan of, and I've driven through Iowa many, many, many times. Tricia,
along those lines, just quickly,
Brian.
I was going to just comment, my dad's from Fort Dodge, Iowa, or Otho, Iowa, grew up on a farm, but I chuckle, last time I went to Des Moines, it was like banking central. I was like coming into Manhattan or something. It's completely different than what I recall going to the farm back in the day.
Yeah, and it continues to. Des Moines is just, even just over the last 10 years has transformed. Tricia, nice to see you on.
Yes, so I'm Tricia Cunningham. I'm with Tennessee Employees Credit Union. Sorry, I am home with an ear infection. So
Oh,
our life. This is how we roll. I did, as Karan mentioned, I did work for a couple of credit unions in Iowa, so I'm very familiar with all those. So, but again, I'm in Nashville now and CEO of Tennessee Employees Credit Union.
Good to see you, Blair.
What's up, Karan? Good to see you, and you too, Hector. Yeah, so I'm Blair Connors. I'm the Chief Lending Officer at a credit union in the Bay Area. So for those not from here, we're maybe 40 miles east of San Francisco. state chartered. We primarily lend in the 4 counties around here, supporting mostly the Lawrence Livermore lab. We've tried to expand a little bit more statewide. And yeah, AI for us right now, I'd say we're, based on our asset class, we're 750 million assets. We're probably ahead relative to what I've seen. Mostly using this in my area, mostly in the lending space from a decisioning standpoint, and then also in the call center. And that's mostly just the efficiency gains right now. We haven't really expanded beyond that. So excited to be on here, excited to hear everybody's input.
Thank you very much. Monica?
Hey y'all, I'm Monica Davis. I'm the Senior Vice President of Risk Management, and I am located in Wichita Falls, Texas, which is just basically North Texas. We're about a $590 million credit union. We are starting to venture out with more AI, as in letting some of our loan officers and other individuals use AI, but right now we primarily use it for some contract review, and some marketing resources right now.
Gotcha. Thank you very much. And Judson?
Hi, everybody.
My fellow associate.
My name is Judson Murray, and I'm a data analyst with AI Vantage. I'm primarily here today to listen and to learn. I know there's a wealth of experience on this call today, and I'm newer to the workforce, newer to the industry, so really excited to learn from people more experienced than me, but I think it also gives me a bit of a unique position, so maybe I would be able to contribute to the conversation from that perspective, someone who's maybe a little newer to the game here.
Rub it in.
So we're going to jump right in, and I'll actually just I'll ask 2 questions. And Brian, I'm going to start with you just because you're on the fintech side and probably a good person to kind of kick this off. The first 2 that I had was just generally is like, what AI initiative is your current highest priority? Because everybody's got a couple, and why now? But bringing it back to this whole, it's top down and bottom up. How do you come up with these initiatives? I mean, how do you prioritize things as an organization?
Yeah, great point. I'll just quick background. I mean, we've been involved like you in the early days of the traditional AI and machine learning, building predictive models and everything along those lines. When Gen AI came out, years ago, we essentially just started tracking various use cases, and they were crowdsourced throughout our organization, internal and external use cases. Now, we spun out, as you know, on October 1st from TrueStage. So we were the fintech group within TrueStage, a $6 billion company that was pretty locked down. Since we've spun out and we just got our own equipment, jumped into Cloud Code. And so what are our top priorities right now? Really getting our dev team moving away from Copilot, using Copilot for testing, but using Cloud Code for coding. So 2 different models, code, asking the developers to essentially eat their own dog food, build product, and have AI then test it and then throw it over to the UAT team. So that's priority 1, is increasing speed, capability, getting to 100% test coverage really on our software. The other areas that we're looking to leverage it internally are really around conversational AI with just training up our team, whether it's implementation support, answering tickets, just so we can be better and faster for our clients. So that's another priority. So that's more internal utilization. The last point I'll make is on external utilization. We really want to leverage AI because we basically drive loans, deposits, and non-interest income, insurance-related products for financial institutions, making it easier for our clients. So building into our product the ability to understand their campaigns, the campaign performance, have AI help them optimize the next campaign and ultimately set up the next campaign. So internally and externally, we're just trying to make stuff better, faster, cheaper, and make it easier for the users, whether it's our team or our clients. It is being top down. I'm addicted to Cloud Code. I haven't slept in a week. But so I'm probably the heaviest user right now, even though I'm CEO.
Well, our dev team is heavily using Claude for dev code as well. So I absolutely get it. I mean, we're starting, the traditional days of coding are changing. So Rod, I'll shift over to you because you talked a little bit. I think you'd mentioned something around chatbots, or sort of thinking about ways you could engage. Rod, that was you, right, Rod? You're on mute again. Sorry.
Well, I don't think I mentioned chatbots, but we're using it in Zoom.
Zoom.
I'm very conservative on concern on the learning aspect of it, that it learns the right stuff, so that the answers don't go off and give a crazy answer. So that's a concern for us. And so we spent probably 6 months working with just a couple of our call center people and working out the responses as it listens to the conversations, and making sure it was coming up with the right answer. We do have a clientele that use the wrong words in the conversation all the time. So, that's also a concern, where the call center person generally can understand that they're using the wrong word, just making sure that the AI also understands that, the context.
Mm-hmm.
So those are concerns as far as using it in the call center. It's working with limited success at the moment. I'm looking at one that would work off our website and then possibly inside online banking, to basically sales, you provide information on the products and kind of leading the conversation with the person in a chat mode. The one I'm looking at, I like, they are actually using for the industry standard AI pieces, but they have it on a narrow rail, so that all the answers and the stuff is the history that they're building on their side, not within the AI systems out there. I do like that. The demo I was given was pretty good, so we're thinking about it. And then right now we're looking just on sort of proof point offers on the email side, some AI learning to better get rid of the bad emails.
Yeah.
And all that too. So those are the areas that we're starting to get in. I do feel a little behind on the AI stuff, but I also did want to wait till it was firmed up and a little more consistent product.
Anybody who says they're ahead is lying, by the way. So I wouldn't worry too much about feeling like you're behind there. People are trying to. I think this is that kind of an industry where you're constantly trying to catch up. At least right now, everybody is so. Sarah, if you don't mind, I'm going to pick on you. Just maybe hearing a little bit about at First Citizens, maybe what initiative you might have, and then also the top down. How does where's adoption and innovate and thought and ideas coming from, top to bottom or bottom to down, bottom to up?
Well, we officially put an AI policy in last October, that approved at the board level.
Mm-hmm.
And so we are a heavy Microsoft, that's our platform right now. So I would say the use cases that are organically probably most heavily been successful utilization at this point would be the policy review, improving communication, easily comparing contracts, or just using that in a very quick way to get things started. We did, from a finance standpoint, we have some goals to automate really the tedious manual processes or some of the things that take up time. So we have an AI agent that was built in the last few weeks, actually, and we're still, and I don't consider it quite a success yet, but it's been helpful because obviously a lot of vendors are pitching us what they have, and being able to understand what they're trying to sell one example, we use Flowcast for all of our reconciliations, and it's been a great tool on the financial side, but they're very expensive in regards to what they want to charge for the AI functionality there. Those would probably be the high points right now. Yeah, we are not a fast adopter by any means, and trying to navigate as to where to go. In context, I guess I didn't say we're about a $1.8 billion bank, primarily in north central Iowa, one Minnesota location, but S Corp too. So,
Well, and what we've seen is, just if I go back, and if you're not a fast learner and you're trying to follow on or just catch up on certain things, it's chatbots, it's document repositories, policies, like you said. Now we're getting more, obviously, underwriting. We're starting to see like a solution like we have, which is MarTech. There's not a lot, but that's where we're starting to head a little bit. There are more and more avenues coming out, even like what you said, Rod, like leads. But definitely, I mean, more and more folks are trying these things. So I think what I think is going to be an interesting thing that you touched on a little bit, which is it's almost like we've got some custom and homegrown systems that we need to figure out a way that we can embed AI on top of those too. I think that'll be a big challenge and opportunity too for a lot of organizations that are not using standard vendors or are trying to evaluate ways they can do things themselves. Matt, if you don't mind, I'm going to just ask you the same question as, you're CEO of a large credit union, 1.2 billion. How do you bring that in? How do you bring the ideation into the AI ideation in there?
Yeah, so we're like I said, a little bit unique at the 1.2 billion. We have 140 employees, so we run a really efficient kind of model and how we navigate. We have a nationwide equipment lending program that we run direct with manufacturers, and so we'll do 250 to 300 million in utility tractor loans across the country, all UCC filed. So we actually run an AI solution on that to be able to do all of our UCC filings by state. So every loan that comes in, we actually have it completely done from an AI bot on how it runs, goes out to the state, files the individual UCC based on each individual state that we go from there. We're working on putting some things in collections. I would say the bulk of what I'm trying to tackle in AI is any relatively routine task-oriented process that I can eliminate a human from doing, and try to navigate that first. We obviously, I think, I used to joke it was like our Google replacement in the beginning. Now it's probably one of our like junior assistant replacements. So my entire leadership team will use it for a lot of board reporting or chart creating and navigating things from there. There's a lot of use case that we have on very basic, how do you take what used to be a 2-hour or 3-hour task of writing a board report and turning it into a 25-minute task, and navigating from there. So just a few things we're doing with it.
A quick note on that, Matt. I've got a board meeting next week. I met with my board chair this morning. We actually also have Lamont Black on our board. I don't know if you've heard of him, but big, AI and blockchain guy. But anyway, we're not doing PowerPoint for our board. I basically have built a board dashboard where I put in all the data, and then we've got different tabs, and we'll be doing that. It's basically an HTML file that Claude's building. So the amount of time that's saving. So I'm pulling in our financials, our pipelines, our product information, everything. And it's just, it's taken some work, but it's just saving us a ton of time for board prep. And we'll see. So there's going to be no PowerPoint on our next board. It's going to be an HTML board dashboard with multiple tabs that we'll just scroll through, built by Claude.
Yeah, I think that's great. One thing, if you haven't, those financial institutions that are out there, if you're ever worried about like, okay, what data goes in, even just going out to like your call report data, right? So it's already public information that's in. And if you would take your last 4 or 5 years worth of call report data, upload it into like a Claude, and then be able to go, hey, cut analysis on what this is. You're not feeding it any information that's not already public. And the amount of what you would take as executive board reporting information that you'll get from that on its standalone will do, Brian, what you just said, 70% of the financial information you need from there.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And we're on Claude Enterprise, so similar to Copilot that we're on as an enterprise when we were at TrueStage, it's locked down. So this information's not going out. But yeah, that's a great call down in COA. I've got that call report data uploaded, so it's beautiful. And, AI Vantage is helping us a ton on that too.
Well, it's kind of interesting because we are personally like, so now going forward, all of our sales pitches are going to be used. We're using Lovable for it, which is another sort of AI. It's similar. It's no more PowerPoints. It's similar sort of board deck approach, Brian, that you're talking about. If you wanted to see pros, cons, features, all of this, our tool, this makes it all very easily shareable. We share the link after that, and anybody can see it. So there's absolutely that's sort of a trend that we're seeing happening. I think if you think about the conversations about job replacement and all of that, that's becoming interesting because everybody should be using it at least to make their life easier. Like you said, something that's 2 hours go down to 25 minutes. Add that by 10 people, 20 people, to start to save a lot of time. We should all be thinking about how we could use AI for doing more of that. Blair, I'm going to pick on you next just because you're down there. Go ahead, sir. What are you all doing? How do you said you all are pretty further around. You're pretty advanced when it comes to AI. I know you've been in a fairly sort of progressive credit union for a while at Uncle. What are you thinking about, and how do you bring innovation in there? So where your ideas come from? Again, top, bottom up. How are you being so progressive?
Sure. I mean, I would hedge progressive. Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
You're good. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say like progressive relative probably to our asset class, right? So I do kind of want to hedge that comment because, like you said, I always think we're like massively behind relative to peers, especially in the Bay Area where everybody's over 10 billion. So small and medium size gets very contextualized. Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest things, at least in the last 3 years since I've been here, is mostly just around staff efficiency. And then, you could argue, we'll see when the portfolio seasons, mostly around MRM models relative to the underwriting on the consumer loan space, consumer loans and HELOC. So, I think 3 years ago when I got here, we were 8 or 9% on automation in that space. And now we're at 85%. I mean, we effectively, even for our asset size, have 2 underwriters. The rest of it just goes through automation. We're basically just reviewing it on the back end. And so like that's where we found a ton of efficiencies. We got a little lucky in that we had multiple underwriters leave at the same time, and we went with a third party where we were just paying them for each loan. And that sort of seamlessly pushed us into the automation where every loan now that we just get approved through automation, we don't need to pay that third party rather than trying to reallocate staff. So, I mean, that's like the biggest thing where, yeah, I mean, it is less opportunity. So the biggest issue we had was selling the board on and the senior leadership on, yeah, we are effectively going to tell staff, like, there is no opportunities in that space going forward, but welcome to reality. Or you can not do that and just get merged in. I mean, that's how aggressive I got in the way that I was trying to message that. So that's like primarily where we're using like the MRM models via AI to try and make that decisioning not only more efficient, but also more accurate. We have relatively high charge-offs given the fact that 90% of our loans come in through the indirect space, which makes underwriting a lot more challenging. The other piece too, somebody mentioned Copilot. Yeah, that's one that like I would not say we're ahead. We launched Copilot over a year ago, and we almost don't use it at all. Where I think it's lately in the background, but other than me and our CIO, it's barely used. So we're trying to learn how to get better adoption on that, where I think the only stuff even me and him are using it for right now is pulling reports out of our data warehousing and then just trying to summarize them and get conclusions off of that a lot quicker using Copilot. So that's kind of like the journey we're on. But yeah, I think the challenge, I mean, I would assume, I don't mean to speak for other places, I'm just saying the credit union world is not even maybe as much willingness, but just having the bandwidth internally to run with it where, like not trying to say this because, me and you are talking on this call, but I think there's a little bit too much obsession with the belief that you can build it in-house, which I think is naive, but I think emotionally taxing for a lot of people. And so it's trying to get people around, hey, we're going to go to a third party, but if they can't see the value proposition on that third party because they've never used a third-party AI efficiency provider, trying to explain that, at least in my case, has just been extremely challenging, which sort of clogs up the funnel of all your ideas. So then I'll bookend this with, where did the ideas come from? I mean, for us, they mostly come from top down, just because I think there's a lack of awareness given the journey that your credit union's on relative to like if you have lower and middle management, they don't know what they don't know. It's not an aptitude thing. It's just an awareness thing. And if they don't have the bandwidth to think about it through the day, everything is just I'm reacting to what I got to deal with in that day. They can't even perceive that action. So I don't know, like I would just say it's very difficult to try and pitch, in my experience, look, this company can help us do all these things. Well, if they can't see it, then all they see is a bill. So I'll stop there. But that's kind of the positives and the negatives. We
had a little bit of, when you think of the top down, bottom up, I mean, I realize I've been in this field for a while. I've been in marketing analysis, sort of traditional data. Obviously, I consider myself somewhat AI focused, so our organization's entirely AI focused. But I asked our team to come up with ways that we could start using more. So that entire Claude piece for coding is something that's been a top-down initiative, bottom-up initiative for us. The coders themselves, the new ones, they're the ones who said, listen, this is the way we could start doing it and be more efficient. And we have now started adopting it at the higher level. So, I mean, it's absolutely happening both ways. Tricia, I'm going to pick on you just because, Blair mentioned, he talked about asset size and relying on third parties, and we get you too used to, you're at the credit union at the size y'all heavily relying on vendors. So how do you think about AI coming in?
I am 100% for the AI coming in, and kind of like Matt said, yes, our scales are totally different, but we are a one branch, but we serve the entire state. So I need to find the efficiencies. I have a limited staff. We did implement an AI underwriting 2 years ago and very disappointed with it, which was horrible because that was the first thing that, because ours is top down. It ended up being horrible because now anytime I try to introduce any kind of AI, I get a lot of pushback from my staff. We're not a big staff. Um, so it's been hard to sell the staff on the AI and the efficiencies and trying to make their life better. I'm not replacing you. I'm just trying to make your life easier. Um, our other, like in the state of Tennessee, I'm a state chartered credit union. Our TDFI is they're like 100% against AI. So it has always been a struggle. I mean, I've had an AI policy now for probably four years because I have been wanting to get this done and get it efficient and do what we need to do to help our members. We're a credit union to help our our customers, members. It's a struggle in Tennessee with our state examiners, and I have struggled a little bit with my staff, and I think because the company, and I won't name them because they are very well known, was such a flop with our first AI rollout. Now I really have a hard time with my staff thinking that it is going to make their life better. So that, I am constantly looking. I have looked at, I was had a lunch the other day with our one of our league gentlemen, and talking about for call report, because I'm the CEO, CFO, CIO, CSO. So I'm a small credit union, so I do all of that. What can I do to try to help myself? But it's just it's a process. I'm all for it. I am all for it. The staff buy-in is hard. Board buy-in has been fine, but the our state our state credit union association is a little bit more difficult to work with.
Well, you bring up an interesting point. Sorry, go ahead, Brian.
I was just going to comment in terms of the buy-in, what I've been doing, like even over the last week, I've got like 8 projects running in Claude, and I'm literally screen sharing with some of my colleagues to say, I did this in 5 minutes before we got on this call, and they're like,
Right.
holy cow. So it's literally just showing it to them, and people are starting to dive in. So if they're not diving in themselves, I'm
Right.
talking the non-tech. Anyway,
Okay. No,
sorry,
I mean,
yeah.
no, but that's great because, I mean, Judson I've had calls with Judson, recently, and the person that's been on that call was one of my biggest not for AI, and the project that we just went through, thank you, Jesus. Now she's on it and she's my VP. So I need her buy-in to get the rest of the staff. So we'll get there. But like you said, Brian, I just got to involve them more.
Love that. Hector, I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm going to bring a little bit of what Tricia said into that because it's a factor we haven't even considered. Is the state regulators deciding? I mean, you can talk about your priority, but is that at all influenced by the way either the leagues, what they're promoting, or how the state is driving things from an AI perspective?
I think as an industry, it definitely is slowing us down being regulated. We had a conversation yesterday about this on a call on another roundtable, and it was, you have other companies that aren't regulated by NCUA or anything with government on it, right? And then you take it even further, you have other countries, right? You could take it down to that level where you have the Chinas of the world and stuff that are moving forward quickly. And so it is holding us back, but I think we're starting to get to the point where we're seeing the efficiencies, and and the regulators are starting to say, okay, this is more acceptable, at least from what we've been seeing in some of our exams. And a lot of the credit unions that will tell you this, they'll say, yeah, the regulators, this and that. And I'll tell them, do you even use AI enough for them to tell you not to? They're like, no, I heard it from someone else. Well, then try it, because we have Microsoft Copilot, and we did our first policy for it. And we kind of didn't have a choice because everybody else is using ChatGPT. They're using Copilot. You can't close Copilot on its own and use Microsoft Word. It's sitting everywhere in Excel and everything. So we were like, if we don't, people are still going to use it. We might as well have a policy for it. And NCUA loved it. And we're working with other vendors, third-party vendors, to do some of this agentic stuff. First with vendors, I would like for us to do it in-house, but we're waiting for some of that to kind of season out. We are testing it right now. We only have a couple of the higher tier Copilot licenses that we're using. We haven't ran those through any regulators or anything like that, but I would imagine they're not going to have a problem with it. Anything that you shoot out through Teams or through email is behind Microsoft Copilot anyway. And so it's the same thing. It's the same firewall. So I think that definitely the regulators, but even ourselves as an industry as a whole, are holding ourselves back.
Yeah.
NCUA regulators, though, some of them are actually starting to use AI themselves to do the analysis. And if anyone's going to GAC, the NCUA is hosting, so Kyle and Sarah, an AI discussion forum. They've done this the last 2 years, and same thing on blockchain. I mean, it's an invite only, it's a small group, but they're trying to get more into it themselves. I was on the phone with a large credit union yesterday, and they were commenting how they'd like to get rid of the bureaus. I'll leave names out of this, but they'd like to get rid of the bureaus. They're like, technically, we can do it. Our lending, everything, we can do it. But the regulators won't let us because they all want you to zero back to the bureaus because that's what they know. To your question on how are the regulators holding back, if you're using, broad data sets and you're using, AI to actually leverage and make those kind of lending decisions, and it's still all explainable, they still just are relying on, the regulators still pushing reliance on the bureaus.
The one thing I would say, though, is, we tend to use that, and I'm sure, Sarah, you feel it on the bank side too. Like, we use them as a scapegoat a lot of times of saying, well, the regulator or this or, anywhere in. I mean, if you go through NCUA's 2026 supervisory priorities, there's not one mention of AI in it whatsoever. And I would bet the bank side would be the exact same, like that from FDIC, of it's not a high priority in what they are looking at. We hear it from one single examiner, and then it spreads like crazy in our industry. And I think we tend to default back to that, where it's not the thing that's, the big bad wolf in the corner.
Yeah,
we were regulated. We had the Fed in last May, June for one of our examinations. They weren't even allowed to use any AI throughout the whole process. And so it's ridiculous. They don't really have an understanding of what the tools could do. But now that's a long time ago, and what's happening with AI. And we will have the state regulators in this fourth quarter, so we will see. But I've asked, what's your viewpoint? What direction are you headed in that? And I really got no feedback too. So they will not be on the front end of any of this. So.
One of the persons who was supposed to be on the call hasn't shown up. Is actually, we were going to have somebody from the Federal Reserve of Kansas City on. It would have been kind of interesting to see how the Fed, I know there's different Feds and stuff, and the policies are somewhat, I guess, top down in that case, but it would have been interesting to see how their perspective on it. I happened to be yesterday, so we also work with the Community Banking Association of Texas, and yesterday was their Hike the Hill. So they went up, and so I was with them all day in like I said, Capitol Hill. And the discussions were all around like the FDIC insurance and, tax the credit unions and a couple of other things that popped up, but nothing was discussed around AI. And we spent the whole day there, talked to multiple representatives, some on even AI and technology councils, unfortunately. So I think to your point, Matt, the fact that it's not an NCA's roadmap for next year, or at least many mention of it, is just interesting because I guess slowly but surely everybody's starting to use it. I hope it doesn't become one of those things that we wake up 5 years from now and say, now let's put regulation on it, which, wouldn't be surprising. Mike, I don't want to ignore you or Judson, so I just want to come back to you with that question, and then we'll just circle around with the last round, guys, because I think we'll run out of time. But Monica, what are your thoughts as far as what are the priorities you're looking at, and where are these ideas coming from?
So a lot of our priority is based on marketing. They're where our ideas are coming from, and he just wants to, to run with it, take it and go. And it's great. It works out for him, and it does offer a lot of efficiencies. But on the flip side of that, we've been kind of researching, and I think Brian had mentioned that there is a lot of efficiencies to be gained to putting it on the loan side and to incorporate it into our loan decisions. And I've been kind of, following a vendor for a few years now. And one of the things that's really important to us is the way that our regulators view all of that, and if there is any discrimination or practices inside of the AI agent that would pick up on any potential leaning to one way or the other. And so we need to make sure that that is something that is absolutely accepted by our regulators, and that they will allow us, I guess, to use it without giving us a bunch of grief about it. And so we've kind of settled on one that we like, but we have not implemented yet. So that is our goal, is to have something laying on top of our loan applications that will help us decision those better. From what they tout, it goes from, it will increase our efficiencies about 80% on decisioning loans, is what they've told us. So I would be really excited to hear if that's been your case as well.
We have clients using Zest and Synaptic for whatever that's worth, and have been for years. Zest AI and Synaptic. But sorry, Karan, go ahead.
No, I was actually just going to say, I think it would be, when I share the contact details, Monica, it might be worthwhile for you to talk to. I saw Tricia also raise a finger there, and Blair, both who've done, seems like on one side gotten a lot of efficiencies, and the other side had a bit of a harrowing experience. So there you go. So I think that it might be worthwhile just to have a follow up on that. So folks, I'm just going to go around with the last thing. So we had two questions, and again, I'll merge them into one. One was, are you overestimating or underestimating the impact of AI? And the second question is, are you doing enough? And this may tie, the two could tie together. And how do you define what enough really means? And Judson, I'm going to lead with you on this one, because otherwise I know that we tend to put others first. But go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. From my perspective, I lean more towards the underestimating point of view right now. I hear a lot of conversation about efficiency tools, and it's definitely automation and efficiency is a huge benefit of AI. But I was more interested, honestly, when Brian was speaking about, having their system learn for their clients and be able to produce the result the next time beforehand. I think that's where a lot of the potential for AI sort of comes into play. And I think people's mindset isn't necessarily, they aren't necessarily there yet. They're still thinking in terms of chatbots and automation, when that's really the power, I think, of what you get there, is sort of that predictive ability for the next time, and being able to remember and attend to specific things about particular clients. And I think a big part of that is education. I think not a lot of people fully understand how AI works, and sort of have debunked the black box, so to speak. But I think as education becomes more ubiquitous across the board, and AI just becomes more and more and more of a household thing and concept, that will start to change as well.
Also generational, right? As you get younger folks in who've just been raised. I mean, my kids are using AI for their homework. So that's just one of the things they're doing. They're using it probably for a lot of other things as well. So at some point, that'll be the culture that's coming into the organization as your next round of employees too. Sarah, what about you? I mean, overestimating, underestimating?
I would agree with what was just said. I think we were underestimating the impact. The articles that I keep coming across, and just how things have leapfrogged even inside of February, is some of the we just probably can't even fathom. But I look upon that, and it's not to replace people. It's, I think, as we've talked about, it's, you know, you give more space and you give scalability and all that. But I think it's moving faster than anyone can really appreciate. So that means we aren't doing enough. I don't think we are. It's hard to have, you know, all the people have the bandwidth to play around and to do, you know, just to learn. But we should be doing more of that.
Yeah, I think it was Bill Gates who said was it he said this a couple of years ago. So rate of change changes, but he said in 10 years we'll all be working 3-day weeks. So you know, maybe we'll have so much more time to get everything done that we're doing, still be employed. But you know, he said that out there. So Matt, what about you? You know, how either underestimating, overestimating, or are you doing enough, or and what enough really might mean?
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I thought when you were going down the Bill Gates, you were going the other quote that he said, right? That we overestimate what's going to be done in 1 year and underestimate what will be done in 10. And I think that's probably where it is as people get excited about AI, we probably way overestimate, you know, the thought of like it's going to change everything in the next 12 months. And I think, you know, the reality is we're way underestimating what the impact is going to be over the next 10. I mean, the impact on the industry in general over the next decade is going to be, you know, monstrous. Yeah, so I would say we probably always overestimate most things in the short run of what we think something's going to be, and then we underestimate it in the long.
You know, he said 3 days. I hope not, because actually, you know, what's 2-day work weeks. It's like me working out. You know, you're not going to see the change in 1 year, but in 10 years from now, I'm going to be ripped. All right, Brian, what about you? What are your thoughts? Overestimating, underestimating.
Yeah, I think I agree with the last point very much. I do think we are underestimating its impact and its abilities because we're not using it enough and experimenting enough, and we're being a little slow. But I do think it's going to, you know, move a little slowly here, and then as people jump into it, then it is going to boom. So I'll just agree, you know, with the last statement that's coming at us. I'm diving in, including in calls, more on the agentic stuff. I threw some stuff in. This is where, if I look as I'm a financial institution and I'm a consumer, and you know, all the consumers will each have about 15, 20, 30, 50 of our own agents that do different things, one for savings, one for payments, one for investments, whatever. I mean, so to me, like as a financial institution, we need to think about how we build products and then how we expose those products so they're found by the bots, you know, shall we say, by the agents, and then can be execute on it. So that's really where my head is going on this in the longer term. Not to over-index on that, but you're starting to see that like over the holidays in 2025. How are people shopping?
Yeah,
you know, I'm going for the best Christmas socks. Am I using ChatGPT to find the best Christmas shops, or the you know, the right, you know, gift for Valentine's Day, you know, etc. So
yeah. How creative am I anymore now?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to shift the question a little bit from clearly it seems like most folks think we're underestimating the impact of AI. So we'll kind of go past that. More towards the enough is what is enough? And the enough question could be multiple angles. You say, you know, we're from a technology enough, or do I stop when it affects member services, or what do I hold on to is that thing, something that is going to be unique to me versus everything else I could use AI for. Hector, what do you think about that? Are you doing enough with AI? And I know you talk to a lot of young executives. You run that young executive group out in California too. So what are you hearing is enough with AI?
Yeah, we actually had a roundtable on AI yesterday because Karan flaked on us to be a speaker. I'm kidding. I asked him very last minute. That's all me. So we did an open discussion on AI, and we did because I was sitting in a roundtable with a big consulting firm, and we talked about AI, and then I saw an article about how Mr. Beast, a YouTuber, purchased a startup, and both in the same day, I'm like, this it's not about the product. These products are commoditized, especially with AI now. It may not even be about talent. How many times have we used talent as an excuse? Now it's about delivery, right? How do you deliver this? What trust do you build? We talk about community. You ask a room full of people, what's your credit union good at? What sets you apart? We know our members. We give back to our community. YouTube's a community, and in the future, these meta communities are going to be more of these communities that people think of, especially with the new younger generation. And so, are we doing enough? Definitely not. I mean, we talked earlier about credit unions, and number one, bureaucracy always gets in the way, but in terms of regulatory, I think that holds us back. Talent, you do need someone that understands this to come over into our industry and know how to navigate the regulations and all of that. So I don't think so. What I try to do myself is play with these things, and I call it play because sometimes I do things that aren't like business or whatnot, but Claude, Gemini, Canvas, all of these AI tools, and I started just a side business just so that I can play with these, and everything is, I have an AI org chart, and so I'm keeping up while my 9 to 5 isn't, and hoping that it does, and I'm trying to push them to. But that's the way that I'm trying to do enough, because the speed that it's moving is if you don't do something this year, you're going to be so far behind. It seems like every month there's a big breakthrough by one, and then the other one ups them.
For those who haven't kept up, Mr. Beast bought a company and he has applied, and I think may have even been granted. I need to check that, but for a bank charter. So it just tells you, like, at some point, you could be what the regulations are. We complain about whether it's right or wrong, or whether now I'm wondering if it's enough sometimes. And Mr. Beast is they're offering loans. Blair, what are you all doing when it comes to sort of the future, and what's next on the roadmap for you all? You talked a little bit about that with automation. Where does that sort of end in 2026?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, it's just further trying to go in mostly just the loan decisioning, not to really just harp on that because I'm from the lending side, but it really is organizationally the biggest thing that we focus on. And not just specifically using our MRM models, but I mean, even automation via like a process. So like, we're debating right now, can we truck in enough automation on the HELOC process, which is a never-ending war of speed? I mean, it's a commoditized product, right? If we're being honest. So it's how fast can you get it in their hands? Do we continue to try and like trek down this path of trying to be faster, or do we just, I don't want to say throw our hands up, but pivot to something like a Figure where it's okay, fine, like that's all automation, then get it done in 5 days, and we're just going to run everything through them. So that's sort of like the roadmap for us in the short term on what we're working on. And yeah, I mean, like, not to go back to stuff everybody said, but I think part of it's knowledge. To Hector's point, it's like you're always going to be behind instantly, just I think partly just because of our sheer size and scale from an industry, but then also, so because I think it coincides with the question you have, I just think part of it too is just a romanticization of staff. And I'm not trying to say that insensitively. I mean, like, I moved up the chain like I'm sure all of us did, but I think it's just that very romantic feeling of, well, but we can't have less opportunity and less stuff. And it's like, that's fine. Let me know how that tunnel ends. You know what I mean? But I just think that I think we use the excuse of like throwing up our hands going, it's too complex, we can't find partners, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, let's just be honest with each other. Like, no, you're underpinning that whole endeavor because we're uncomfortable with the idea that there will be less opportunity, there will be less people that we need, so on and so forth. So I didn't mean to pivot off your question. I just think it underpins every single piece of this, at least in credit union land. Don't get me wrong, I love credit unions, always worked in them. This isn't a negative. It's just, to me, maybe because I'm in the Bay Area, it's trench warfare here. So it's like, we either need to be realistic about this now, or we can be really fluffy about it, and then one of these $10 billion shops will just come in and pick us off anyway. So I don't know. That's my feeling on it.
What you're saying is basically is 100% the truth. I mean, we're oftentimes shy away from the reality. We can find ways to work around things, but true is it. Let's address some of the bigger questions, and I'll keep that in mind. I'm just going to run through. I know we've got a few more folks just want to hear, and I'm going to pivot to a very quick question, which is, hey, what stage of the consumer lifecycle or member lifecycle are you going to focus on in 2026 with AI? That could be marketing, could be awareness, ease of adoption. Rod, where do you think AI will affect your?
I think ease of adoption, and probably in the marketing arena will probably where we're going to be. We do have a need to automate the loan decisioning. Our staff that does that are union members, and the way they work through our credit union, the senior, it's by how long they've been with the credit union, they automatically move up into the lending area. And we've created a scenario where we're allowing them to go down to the port after 5 years, which means that we are gutting our lending experience. entirely.
Yeah.
So that's a new phenomenon for us, but it definitely is going to push the need to rely on not people to make the lending decisions.
Thank you.
That's
Yeah.
definitely coming up. But for next time, I just want to get in real quick. Would like for you to address data leakage and
Yeah.
garbage into the AI. Those are my two big concerns. So
we're testing a new set of questions. I'll say data security and all was definitely on the AI readiness, and so we've evolved it, but we can definitely connect on that too. Trisha.
There we go. Sorry. Just this has been a really good call, and there's so much that AI could do for all of us, for all of our institutions, bank, credit union, fintech, whatever. I think just getting over the hurdles and getting over, staffing, for me, it's very overwhelming because there are so many out there. And, you know, I can't remember who was looking at a lending AI. I totally got burned, and I'm in my last year of my 3-year contract. So it's more of, who do you even, trust in these areas? I have talked to so many vendors because the AI would just make my life and my staff's life so much easier. But I have that's not my only job. I have,
Yeah.
other jobs to do, but I need these products. I need these things to make efficiencies, make my staff life's easier. There, products out there for, AI for, our, policies, procedures that people, like the old intranet. Okay, there's so many out there. How do you even start to vet these people? How do you have the time? The tools are there, and I would love to be using them. I'm just struggling because I got burned on my first one. So
Yeah.
if someone is using the lender one, and again, I won't be that person, but if you do want to reach out to me, I would be happy to give you, my intake. And I think that's what it is, we need partners like AI Vantage and, all of us talking to, what has worked, what has not burned you. And again, how can we continue to, my members don't come into the branch. I don't need them to come in. I don't really want them to come in. I don't go to my branch. I have a credit union in Iowa, and in Florida. I live in Tennessee. Never, I don't go into them. So efficiency, getting things done, getting it done correctly. And I hate to say, but somehow keeping it in the box of my credit union and not going out to market of what is everybody else doing, and that's
Yeah.
really
Getting
not.
caught up in that cycle of
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
I'm not community, so
Yeah.
what might work for Sarah is not going to work for me. She's community, I'm not. I mean,
Yeah.
I know she's a bank, it doesn't matter, but she's open up the community, I'm not. I have rules and regs I got to follow, so I can't be plunked into this big huge bucket of AI. I need it specific to my little box.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry,
And
that's all I got.
no, absolutely. And I appreciate, and again, we'll end with Monica. I really appreciate everybody here. But Monica, what are your thoughts? And then right at the end of that, I just want to make sure we hear your thoughts of what you're going to be focusing on when it comes to the sort of the, member life cycle.
Yeah, for me, it's going to be a lot of the same. It's going to be the data leakage and the experience for them, because it is all about what we're going to be able to do to better serve our members. So yeah, definitely just what we can do to put out there to make their lives better, but at the same time protect everybody involved, because I mean, someone said it, garbage in, garbage out. Well, if you put anything in there that jeopardizes our member, then that's just something that we can't have. And I've also heard, I mean, that sometimes people are taking AI, the responses to be golden, and they're not. They're just, you know, the response, and you have to take it and you have to either mold it, or you have to just kind of have it as advice that that's the next thing to look at, instead of just that that's the decision and run with it. So just being cautious and walking through it with a lot of care, and expect everything to be just the protection of our member and their experiences better.
Thank you. Really appreciate everybody's time. Apologize for going over. I'll end on one note, just, talk about hallucinations in AI. There's this meme that's going around. If you ask AI, I live 100 meters from the car wash, should I walk over and get my car washed? And ChatGPT says, yes, you should walk over. So sometimes the context, and this is a little bit of it's not garbage in, but it's how it's coming back. So there's still a learning to be done there, but yeah, everything it is coming down to using AI for greater speed to market, efficiency, and I think that will be the transformation that will happen in the next couple of years. But again, thank you very much. If you're going to be at GSC, Brian, I know we're going to catch up. If anybody's going to be out in DC next week, I would love to see you all. Thank you again.
Nice
Really
to meet
appreciate
everybody.
it.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you guys
Thanks,
so much.
everyone.
Thank you.